He had become a master at shutting down, at totally cussing out those who didn't give him the positive feelings that he liked to surround himself with. It wasn't as though he was able to make himself immune to the feelings of hurt or pain, but Jeff found that by totally shutting out, he was able to limit the dosage of pain that he would have to endure. Even though he was intelligent enough to know that it doesn't really work like that, he would still ignore it every time it reared its head. It would never vanish or go away. It was only being set aside, time and time again, until the day came that it would have to be faced up to and dealt with. Jeff wasn't planning on ever dealing with it. This way had become so much easier for him. So as he sat there, slowly turning the pages of the photo album, he felt grief. He wanted to remember those happy times, with their smiling faces and love that shone brightly and abundantly. As he studied the one of Sydney in the hospital bed, holding their small little boy, she looked as though she were looking right through him from that picture. She had a beautiful expression on her face, a look Jeff never remembered seeing and wondering why he didn't notice it when he was taking her picture. Her eyes, even in the picture, held all the emotions that she was feeling. She was beautiful, with her hair disheveled and unruly, and her face void of makeup, with the slight flush on her cheeks, and back again to those rose-topaz-colored eyes. Jeff rested the book on his lap as he leaned his head back on the couch, staring at the ceiling, hoping for some magical wand to bring everything back to what it used to be. Sitting in the silence of his living room, Jeff realized that he was feeling empty, a feeling totally devoid of emotions. Sydney wiped the first tear away from the back of her hand. She tried with all her might to stave off the others that always followed, as if waiting for that particular tear to make the first move, before they would let themselves fall freely, as many rivers from their main source. Sydney wondered at how easily everything that she and Jeff had fought so diligently for collapsed as easily as a house of cards. She doubted that either one of them realized how little strength they really had, without one another to lean on. After all, who could blame a marriage that didn't withstand the death of their first child? Not many did, at least according to the statistics. As an RN working in the ER and trauma units, Sydney had seen the faces that once held such confidence and smiles that were never hard to make become stripped naked of their masks and show the grief, terror, fear, horror, and uncertainties that throw their normal lives into a tailspin, leaving them dizzy and unbalanced. How many times in college did her professors repeat how our lives can change in the blink of an eye, the toss of a coin, a split second, and how, as being trained RNs, that they were going to have to think fast and logically. They could not allow anything to interfere with what is needed at that very moment. They had to be the calm, rational ones to handle the crisis at hand. Sydney was a pro. Her peers admired how smooth Sydney always kept each situation. When her son had his accident, Sydney had just finished a particularly long 12-hour shift at the hospital that was unusually busy. She'd had to deal with everything from a cockly baby, whose mother seemed more in need of attention than the baby, judging from the dark circles underneath her eyes from lack of sleep, to an accidental gunshot wound caused from a young man's friend while they were hunting. Jeff couldn't pick Jacob up that day because he had a big trial and wasn't sure as to how late he would be. Jeff had worked his way through college and struggled through law school. Nothing came easily for him, but on the other hand, nothing was impossible for Jeff either. When driven, he became almost a madman to attain something simply because he felt it was out of his reach. They had a life that ran smoothly. Every now and again, they'd have to iron out the kinks, but for the most part, they worked hard at their careers and respected each other's triumphs, while lifting one another up when they failed. Sydney had just finished college when they made the decision to be married, but Jeff still had 4 years or more to go. It was quite difficult for Jeff to carry a full load while working, but he never complained, just kept his eye on the target. Sydney's father always told her how he always thought that the both of them would end up together. He said that he had always noticed a closeness between the two of them that most don't ever realize. So after they told him the news, he was worse than any mother could ever be. He started making arrangements, sitting with Sydney while picking out wedding invitations and helping her choose the colors, all the while constantly pressing Sydney to get her wedding dress before the wedding rather than after. On and on he went. Randy, her father's partner at the shop, even started getting into the spirit of it all. Sydney had to smile from the memories. It was comical to watch two grown men picking out the cake, speaking with the caterers, ordering the flowers, and argue with each other every step of the way. Her only remorse was that her mother wouldn't be there to see her big wedding day. Though Sydney remembered her mother, sadly, through the years, some parts of her memory faded. She had more love and attention than those with complete families. Sydney's father always told her that they had their own family, that they allowed those certain individuals, like Greta, Randy, and his wife Becky, into their lives because they loved them as one loves a brother, sister, mother, or father, without having to love them because they were born into the same family.